Hello, I'm Jamie Wright, an accredited nutritionist, and I specialise in helping people all across the world achieve their goals without silly fad diets. On today's episode of Nutritionist Explains, we're going to be answering the question, should we be having cheat days? Are cheat days a guilt-free indulgence, or are they a slippery slope towards derailing our health and fitness goals? The debate surrounding cheat days has been ongoing, with fans arguing that they provide a necessary mental and physical break from strict diets, while critics claim they undermine discipline and promote an unhealthy relationship with food. In this video, we'll be exploring the argument and delve into the pros and cons of cheat days, examining their impact on our physical and mental well-being, the potential benefits they offer, and whether they contribute to or are in juxtaposition with a healthy lifestyle. So just what are cheat days? Now, I don't know about you, but the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear cheat days are The Rock's Instagram posts with a small building-sized stack of pancakes or the ocean-draining sushi platter. Now, this is, at least in my own opinion, a bit of a caricature of what a cheat day really is. Cheat days are basically designated days where you can deviate from your regular diet and allow yourself to indulge in foods that are typically considered unhealthy or off limits. A cheat day is a deliberate break from the restrictions of a strict eating plan, allowing you to satisfy your cravings and enjoy your favourite treats without guilt or consequences. These days are often considered to be a reward or a form of self-care, providing a mental and physical break from the monotony of a regulated diet. Cheat days have gained popularity through various diet trends and approaches, especially within the fitness and weight loss communities. But anyway, having a cheat day doesn't necessarily mean completely abandoning all of your healthy eating habits. Although some people do practice it in this fashion, but rather it's more about incorporating a controlled indulgence within the boundaries of an overall healthy lifestyle. The frequency of cheat days can vary from person to person, with some opting for a weekly cheat day, while others may choose to have a cheat meal once in a blue moon. In my experience, the frequency is often dictated by the restrictive nature and or the duration of the diet that the person is currently following. The more restrictive the diet, or the longer the person has been following a given diet, the greater a need for a cheat day. Now, people don't even need to be necessarily dieting to be taking a cheat day, as many people who are focused on gaining muscle also incorporate cheat days too. So, now we know a little bit more about what cheat days are, let's have a look at the arguments for and against having them. What are the arguments for having cheat days? Team Cheat Day argues that they offer several benefits that can actually contribute to overall well-being and move you further towards your goals. One of the major arguments in favour of cheat days is that they provide psychological relief. Strict diets can be incredibly mentally draining and may lead to feelings of deprivation and restriction. Cheat days are therefore used to provide a much-needed mental break, allowing individuals to indulge in their favourite foods and satisfy cravings without guilt, at least in theory. This psychological relief is thought to help maintain long-term adherence to a strict eating plan. Another core argument for cheat days is that they may mitigate metabolic adaptation during a weight loss dieting phase. The theories proposed by fans of cheat days is that periodic overeating can stimulate metabolism and prevent adaptive responses to calorie restriction. This means that occasional indulgences may help prevent weight loss plateaus and maintain a more efficient metabolism over time. I'll actually come back to this later after we finish looking at the theoretical pros and cons of cheat days, because I'm also going to discuss what may actually be the most valuable strategy for you to take away from these two seemingly polar opposite camps of thought. Another benefit to cheat days that advocates have suggested is that by allowing yourself to enjoy your favourite treats, cheat days can help foster a healthier relationship with food. Now, this claim, I'm a little bit more sus on. Proponents say that by temporarily removing the forbidden label from certain foods, cheat days can reduce the likelihood of developing an unhealthy or disordered eating pattern. Don't know about that. But moving on. A final point to touch on, and this is one that I do feel has some merit, is that a cheat day actually allows you to be more socially flexible. In theory, having a cheat day allows you to fully participate in events without feeling isolated or restricted. They help to reduce the need to constantly decline invitations or meticulously plan meals, making it easier to maintain a social life while still prioritising your health. So, these are some of the arguments for cheat days, but what are some of the arguments against? Before I go into the arguments against cheat days, I really do want you to visualize the early 2010s when all of this was blowing up in popularity. Here are some of the main criticisms against having cheat days. One of the primary criticisms around cheat days is that they may create a morality mindset around food by labeling foods either good or bad. This can undermine discipline and promote an unhealthy relationship with food. Some people may also find it challenging to revert back to their strict eating habits after a cheat day, leading to a cycle of overindulgence and restriction. These are really murky waters here as we're wading into potential binge eating disorder, and that comes with a whole raft of health consequences and is very difficult to break free from. On that note, critics of cheat days believe that they can easily turn into binge eating episodes, if not being a justified binge eating episode in of itself. It's fairly well established that excessive restriction can lead to overeating and binge eating, so when practicing a routine of extreme restriction and then overeating in the form of a cheat day, which replicates, in essence, a cycle of binge eating, it could, in theory, reinforce that pattern and make it all the more difficult to break in the future. Basically, you're actively mimicking a binge restrict cycle, and the worry is that you could very easily find yourself to be no longer mimicking one, but being trapped in a cycle itself. Another somewhat related issue that critics of cheat days have with that practice is that they believe it promotes an unhealthy relationship with food. Now, while cheat days may help foster a healthy relationship with food for some individuals, they may also lead to an unhealthy obsession or preoccupation with foods in others. This can manifest as guilt, anxiety, or an inability to enjoy meals outside of the designated cheat day, or even within said cheat day itself. A somewhat less serious critique is that actively programming in cheat days may derail progress. For those with specific health or fitness goals, cheat days can slow down progress and make it more difficult to reach the desired outcomes. Depending on the frequency and the extent of the indulgences, cheat days may hinder weight loss, disrupt blood sugar control, or impede other health markers. While there isn't a huge amount of research looking at this specifically, if you were to look at binge eating studies, which would be arguably the closest representation of these eating patterns, we've seen that intermittent episodes of overeating can increase the risk of both mental and physical health issues, even in instances where body weight hasn't changed. These arguments highlight the potential pitfalls of incorporating cheat days into a healthy lifestyle. It's essential to consider these concerns and find a balance that works for your individual needs and goals. So, based on the arguments for and against, should we or shouldn't we include cheat days? Quite frankly, it's up to the individual. But I'd like to offer an alternative solution which is designed around some of the same philosophies used to justify cheat meals, but perhaps applying these in a manner which is more favourable with the critics of cheat days. I'd like to present diet breaks. Diet breaks, also known as refeeds or diet refeeds, refer to planned periods of higher caloric intake during a weight loss phase or calorie-restricted diet. The concept of diet breaks is rooted in evidence-based strategies to optimize fat loss and mitigate some of the negative effects of prolonged calorie restriction. The purpose of diet breaks is to temporarily increase caloric intake, primarily from carbohydrates and in some cases, fats. I can hear some of you already saying in the comments, "Hey Jamie, this sounds a lot like cheat days," and just hold up now. The differences between the two is that rather than a single day, a diet break is usually a few days or even a few weeks, whereby the person dieting will increase their intake to a previous maintenance amount or just above. This extended period of higher caloric intake is believed to provide several physiological and psychological benefits. The first benefit worth mentioning is that it may help address metabolic adaptation. Similarly to the theoretical rationale for cheat days, diet breaks may help counteract metabolic adaptation by temporarily increasing caloric intake, which may prevent or minimize the decline in metabolic rate. Another suggested beneficial mechanism with diet breaks is the potential effect on leptin. Leptin is a hormone that plays a crucial role in regulating hunger, energy expenditure, and body weight. During prolonged calorie restriction, leptin levels tend to decrease, leading to increased hunger and decreased energy expenditure. Diet breaks may help restore leptin levels, leading to reduced hunger and potentially improved adherence to the diet. Prolonged dieting can also disrupt other hormones, specifically those related to thyroid function, reproductive health, and stress response. By incorporating diet breaks, hormone levels may be better maintained, which can positively influence overall health and well-being. Another point worth highlighting around diet breaks is that they may actually help to support your exercise performance and recovery. During calorie-restricted periods, you may experience decreased energy levels, reduced strength, and impaired exercise performance. Diet breaks may provide a temporary increase in energy availability, potentially leading to improved training performance and better retention of muscle mass during weight loss. A final point to touch on is on the sustainability front. Dieting for prolonged periods of time can be mentally challenging, leading to feelings of deprivation, frustration, and a reduced adherence to the diet plan. Diet breaks may provide a psychological respite by allowing you to enjoy more fluid and flexibility temporarily, making the overall dieting experience more sustainable and enjoyable. Okay, so diet breaks look to be, at least on paper, a perfect compromise between the pro and anti-cheat day camps. But do they actually work? Well, allow me to introduce one of the coolest sounding studies out there. The Matador study. Matador stands for Minimizing Adaptive Thermogenesis and Deactivating Obesity Rebound, which, admittedly, doesn't quite roll off the tongue. But what was this study all about? Well, in this randomized control trial, they took 51 overweight and obese men and they split them into two groups. Participants were assigned to either intermittent energy restriction, which was the diet break group, or to continuous energy restriction, which served as the control group in this study. The difference between groups was that in the diet break group, they were assigned a 2-week period of energy balance after every 2 weeks of energy restriction, i.e. the diet break, whereas the continuous energy restriction group had no diet breaks. The participants were placed on a diet that prescribed a 33% reduction in energy intake with a breakdown of 25 to 30% of energy as fat, 15 to 20% of energy as protein, and 50 to 60% of energy as carbohydrates. The participants were required to complete daily self-report food diaries for the duration of the study to monitor their food intake. So what exactly did the researchers find? Well, they found that the diet break group lost significantly more weight as well as body fat mass compared to the continuous energy restriction group. One interesting finding was that the fat-free mass, so the likes of muscle, bone, etc., didn't really seem to be significantly different between the two groups, which is surprising given that one group lost significantly more weight than the other. The researchers also found that resting energy expenditure was better maintained in the diet break group, which suggests a positive impact on sustaining metabolic rate and reducing the impact of metabolic adaptation. A final finding to highlight was that the diet break group also tended to maintain their weight loss better than the continuous energy deficit group, suggesting it to be a more effective long-term strategy for weight loss. Overall, the Matador study provided some really interesting data. For what it's worth, I personally use this strategy for some of my clients and found it to be hugely beneficial to them, as I'm not an advocate for cheat days, as I just don't believe it sets the right precedent for health, either physically, mentally, or in regards to your relationship with food. So, my advice? Skip the cheat days, and instead, why not give diet breaks a go in their place? Cheat days may be useful for some, but likely lead to more issues than they solve for most. Try giving diet breaks a go and take a health-first focus for your next dieting phase, whether it be weight loss related or not. Hopefully this video helps, and as always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Myprotein YouTube channel for more helpful content, and be sure to keep asking the team questions so we can keep providing you with more evidence-based answers.